Hi, welcome to Re-Engineer Your Resume. I'm Simon Ward. I head up I Got Hired Coaching, but it's been the whole team at I Got Hired that have been working really hard over the last few weeks to ensure that this session is as valuable and as transformational as we can possibly make it. I am incredibly grateful that you've given up your valuable time to be with us. I'm going to work as hard as I can over the next hour or so to prove to you what a good decision you've made. And I say over the next hour or so because I tend to coach from my heart as well as my head. This isn't a scripted session, so right now I don't know how long it's going to go for, but we're going to work as hard as we can. We're going to give you some clear, actionable steps that you can take today to transfer your resume and make sure that it is going to work in this challenging market that we're facing now in 2020. Probably a good place to start is back in 2008. I'd been coaching and working with candidates and job hunters for about 10 years, I guess then, and it became really apparent to me that the stuff that I had been coaching and advising and the work I'd been doing on resumes and interview preparation just wasn't working in that market of 2008. And that's why today I'm absolutely certain that we have to do something new. We have to do things differently, not only to how we were doing them way back 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, or maybe even a year ago, but even at the beginning of this year, before the COVID pandemic hit, we were doing things in a traditional way in job hunting. And that no longer can be the case because today is like 2008 but on steroids, and it's scary, and we're all in this together. So I want to make sure that we can help you make those transformational changes that you need, and we're going to do it over the next hour and a half. We're going to stay really focused, and you're going to walk away from this with a better CV, a better resume than you walked in with. I can tell you I've been where many of you are today. The recruitment industry is incredibly susceptible and sensitive to economic change. So I think at the current time in the UK and in the US, the recruitment industry is the 4th or 5th most furloughed industry in those countries. So I've been made redundant. I've woken up in the morning terrified about what the day will hold, even more scared about what tomorrow is going to hold. But there are things that we can do together over this next hour, hour and a half to fundamentally transform not just your CV, but your thinking behind how you're going to go around looking for that next opportunity and move your life forward out of this horrendous market that we're in now. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of the session, just a couple of housekeeping points. First of all, focus. We really would like you to get the most out of the next hour, hour and a half. So we would like you to be with us in the moment. So we would like you to be able to focus on what we are saying and what we are doing and take away as much as you can from today. So turn off your other devices and turn off notifications on the device that you're watching me on now. And let's get into today's session together, focus and make the most out of it. It's going to last, as I say, for an hour and a half. So get comfortable. If you want to go and make a cup of tea or make yourself a cup of coffee or grab a beer or nip to the toilet, now's the time, because the value of the content of this webinar just increases as we work our way through it. Next couple of minutes, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background about me. So those of you who don't need to know who I am, go and make your tea now, pop to the loo now. If you want to know who I am and understand why I believe I'm the guy that can really help you, listen to the next couple of minutes. Also take notes, just single word bullet points to refresh your mind, put some structure into your thinking about how you're going to transform your resume. There's going to be a recording of this webinar, so you are going to be able to go back and review it anyway, but notes will really help, and ask questions. I'm a coach, so I absolutely live off questions. It's fantastic when I get them. I may not, and the team may not be able to respond to all of the questions live during this event, but we guarantee we will get back to you as quickly as we possibly can with specific personalized answers to every question that you ask. But if you're all ready now, we're ready to go. Let's get to work. I want to start by just having a general agreement among ourselves that it is really tough to be a job hunter right now. You all know it, but I think sometimes we just have to stop and go, we're not in a standard market. There are going to be knockbacks. There are going to be disappointments, and that's the nature of the market. It's not the nature of me. I am still that highly achieved, highly capable individual I was before COVID. I just need to work differently to prove that to an employer and get myself back into work and get my career back on track. It's not just tough because there are not enough jobs and there are too many candidates, although that is the root cause of the challenges we face today, but you're also being asked to conduct what are fundamentally strange interview processes using new and sometimes bad technology. So just as we begin to get our head around Zoom interviews, then another employer might ask you to go through an interview process using something like HireVue, one of the hosted interview platforms. So it's tough. We're having to come to terms with the market, and we're having to come to terms with technology. And then we're also having to come to terms with some pretty poor employer practices as well. There's a lot of stuff at the moment with job hunters feeling unhappy about the fact they're not getting responses after submitting a CV or after submitting or being interviewed. My view, maybe slightly controversial, is it really doesn't matter that much. Park it. Accept it as an issue within the market today. Give yourself 14 days to get a response after the closing date when you have applied for a role, or if there is no closing date, within 14 days of having applied for that role. If you don't hear anything, work on the basis that you're not going to hear anything, so that if something does come back, it's a bonus. There is no excuse for an employer not contacting you after an interview, but in I Got Hired, we have processes and tactics to actually take ownership of that part of the process. So don't be just a placid job hunter. Take ownership, be proactive, and make sure that it's you that is going to drive those conversations. Don't just sit there waiting for someone to come to you. And don't, whatever you do, use it as an excuse to let yourself slowly get into that downward spiral where everything is bad, everything is wrong, no one's coming back to me, the market is unfair. You have to take ownership of that. You have to make sure that you are driving your own job hunt process. That's my first nag of this hour and a half, and you'll find there's going to be a lot of those coming out. So sorry about that, but you're going to have to get used to them. But even allowing for the state of the market, I think the platforms that you rely on to give you help actually in many ways are causing more challenges. So we have what we call the deluge. If you have been online looking for support in your job hunt, you will have been inundated. There are literally millions of search results if you look for interview tips on Google, or if you look for how to write a CV or how to write a resume. And there are there's everything you can imagine. Lots of blogs and advice, articles. I've written books, so I guess I'm a part of the problem. I run courses, so I'm part of the problem, and I train people. So at one point, I have to point out that this is a challenge for you, but at the same time, I'm saying, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit of a part of that problem. But it's actually worse than just volume. One of the issues is that a lot of that advice and guidance you come across will actually disagree with itself. So there'll be a lot of contradictions in the advice. And a clear example is whether to use a resume template or not. Now, we are supporters of very simplistic, straightforward, crisp, clear, conservative CV. So we're not a great believer in using a resume template, but if you do, it needs to be very clean, very simple. We're not a great believer in tables and blocks and pictures and stuff like that. So just put our position out there straight away. You also get this in social media is everything. You have to have your LinkedIn profile working. You have to use Facebook. Other people say, oh, stay away from that. It can only cause you problems. We come from the school of social media. It's everything. And we work within I Got Hired and within the Job Search Accelerator program to make sure that you're in a good place when you use those. You also have the challenge of what we call the Johnny and Janice come latelys. I don't know if you've noticed, but we certainly have. It seems that the whole world have become job search, job hunt, employability consultants, particularly a large number of recruitment consultants. And a lot of these guys are good. They're very good. But one of the challenges that a lot of them has is that they're actually looking at the market and your experience through a single lens. So there are a lot of guys out there who are employability or job search consultants who have been in HR or have been in recruitment or have been a candidate or have been a hiring manager. But to get that full rounded support you need a multi-lens view of the challenges you face. I also personally believe you need to have a view and the experience of someone who has worked through the last recession as well. So there are a couple of things that if I'm not your particular brand of vodka, as George Clooney would say in Ocean's 11, that's fine. That's a personal choice. I'm not hurt. I understand. But what I would say is find your personal brand of vodka. Find someone or an organization that can help you, but do your homework. Make sure that they are valid, make sure they're credible, and make sure they have that length of experience reaching back into the last recession, so they have learned from that and they are giving you advice that is relevant for today. We also have the challenge of the silver bullet and the hack merchants, and this has become a phrase that is so staggeringly popular at the moment, but irritates me immensely. And this is this concept that as a job hunter, you can be sitting at your desk, at your dining room table, at your kitchen table, wherever you're conducting your job hunt, things are not going particularly well. The phone's not ringing, you're not getting emails, you've got little bits of post-it note thrown all over the floor, you're just feeling down the dumps, and then suddenly someone comes along with this silver bullet or a hack that's suddenly going to make everything all right and everything's super. That isn't the way job hunting transforms. It's not the way that successful job hunters work. There are no simple, easy, low effort hacks in job hunting. I've been around this market long enough that I can say that with real confidence. So if someone offers you a hack, a silver or golden bullet, question it, because this idea that we can sell people the magic of a trick or a hack, I think is really offensive to job hunters, and I think there's a lot of money being spent that isn't being effective for job hunters. You also have to deal with the overworked recruiter, and not so much in recruitment agencies and headhunters. I have less sympathy for them because of the size of the fees that they charge. I'm more concerned about the impact on you as a job hunter by the internal recruiter. So internal recruiters at the moment might be handling half the jobs that they're used to handling, but they could be handling 3 or 4 times as many candidates in that 50% of jobs. So they have huge workloads. They're making mistakes. They're failing to get back. They're not focusing on the candidate experience as much as they would in a skill short market, because candidates appear to be 10 a penny at the moment. Now, you can either allow that to irritate you and drag you down, or you can just say, do you know what? I kind of understand that. I've had times at work when I've had too much work for my time, and I probably haven't done things as well as I could. So I'd say cut them a bit of slack and don't let it drag you down where you're spending your time criticizing other people rather than working hard to develop yourself, your own collateral, your processes and your expertise and skills. Finally, we're kind of all looking for the same thing in this market. We're looking for an expert, and an expert is someone who has deep experience, has given this great thought, but in my book, it's also someone who has put the time and effort in to take what they know and to formulate it into a workable platform, a workable process to help people who don't know what they know through a structured experience that helps them learn that stuff. And there are limited numbers of true end-to-end experts out there. There are some really good guys who know a lot about interviewing, or some really good guys who know a lot about CVs and resumes, but it's hard at the moment to find end-to-end joined-up solutions for job hunters. The market is full of what I call point solutions: how to write a CV, how to do LinkedIn, how to prepare for an interview. But there's nothing that takes you from one step to the other. A true expert in my book would take you through that process step by step, supporting you at every step in real detail. And you'll find it hard to believe, but I believe I'm one of those experts. I am a recruiter. I am an HR consultant. I've worked with organizations. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I've worked as a strategic consultant. So I've helped build processes and strategies for how they assess candidates, how they attract candidates. But I'm an operational consultant more than anything else. I like getting in, getting my hands dirty and actually owning the change. that I have suggested. I am also an author. I have written 5 books that have sold exceptionally well on job hunting, and I've been a coach now for longer than I would care to remember. As far as my recruitment career is concerned, I had very little choice. My mum, my dad, my brother, my sister were all recruiters. Sunday lunch was horrendous. It'd be, hello, Simon, what are you having for lunch? What do you think you'll be doing in 5 days' time? That kind of interview question over lunch. But I never really had a choice. I was always going to be a recruiter. As I say, I've been a consultant to both big brands, but also fast startups. So here are some of the organizations I've worked with. You'll recognize a lot of those names. The ones that I'm probably proudest with are the ones you're least likely to recognize. So Axon, which is an SAP and new media consultancy, and Rock, that was an SAP HR and HR transformation consultancy, because they were real challenges. We grew those businesses really quickly with very little brand, but we hired truly exceptional people. We assessed and attracted and secured truly exceptional people. And it was that experience that I've been able to apply to the other side of the fence when I'm talking to candidates that has made me believe that I can help in a way that not every employability or career coach can. I've been fundamentally at 2 coal faces, one with employers and one with candidates. I've got over 30 years recruitment experience. I am bald, and if I didn't have that microphone on, you'd see that I also have very big ears. That experience has been right across the piece, working with umpteen different types of recruitment. I'd say I'm an author of 5 best-selling books. I'm the founder of I Got Hired, one of the things I'm proudest of. I Got Hired is probably the world's only single platform job hunting support tool, and it has been hugely successful over the last 4 or 5 years, helping literally thousands of job hunters. But probably more than anything else, I have been a dad to 3 boys, and that's the real challenge in life, and the one that I probably relish the most. I want to just say that I think with that kind of experience, there's a reasonable grounds for me to say, well, maybe I could be that guy for you. And as we work through this masterclass, you'll make a decision whether my style and my expertise is what you're looking for. I hope obviously that you think that you can work with me. That would be a lot of fun. I want to tell you a little bit about my dad, because I can talk about me forever. I can tell you all sorts of things about me, which you don't know whether it's true or not. But I just want to tell you a little story that just gives a little bit of colour to how I got to where I am. I had a complex relationship with my dad. I think that's what they call it. And I didn't see him for 15 years. He was a great recruiter, very, very successful. And I bumped into him by accident in a hotel in West London, having not seen him for 13, 14, 15 years. And I started showing off to him. I started telling him about how great my clients were, how much billing I'd done, how many people I'd placed, etc., etc. And then quite surprisingly, he said to me, forget who pays the bills and just concentrate on the people whose life you can change. Now, that was a bit weird because my dad was all about the money, but it sort of stuck with me. And from that point, which was, I guess, 25 or so years ago, I started focusing on working with candidates to develop them as human beings and to develop them as job hunters, as opposed to exclusively working with clients. As I said, my dad was all about the money, so he also added, you'll make more money that way. And I guess in many ways, I'll never know, but I think he was probably right. We need to talk about the old normal and the new normal job market, just so you understand, not only, probably the challenges you face, but I'd just like to talk through my thinking as to why you face these challenges. So say over the last 5 years, the old job market looked like this: huge numbers of opportunities, very few candidates. It was a job opportunities rich market. It wasn't that difficult to find an opportunity, and many people secured that step up their ladder that they could. And then COVID came along and literally turned the world upside down. I've never seen anything like it. None of us have. And now there is a huge number of candidates and very few opportunities. Now, yes, I've used a nice big font to emphasize how many candidates there are and how fewer opportunities there are. But that isn't the important thing about this illustration. The important thing is where
the words are sitting and why they are different to the previous market of 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago when, or even actually, let's face it, 8 months ago, the opportunities were really visible. Companies spent a large amount of money advertising their opportunities because they knew they had a limited candidate market to attract. And candidates didn't have to do that much. There was a lot around the passive candidate, people who sat in their jobs waiting to be headhunted because the guys above water level were doing so much hard work to bring the opportunities to candidates. But now if we look at today's market, we have that other situation where the candidates are really, really visible. So your competition is really, really visible and there's a lot of it. And the opportunities are less visible because companies don't feel they need to advertise as much as they have in the past. They don't need to have to make so much effort to attract candidates because there are so many out there. And that is one of the things that is going to fundamentally change an effective job hunt in 2020. You now are in a very large crowd of people who are doing everything they can think of to make themselves visible to a community of employers who think they can find you really, really easily. So that in itself is something of the nutshell of our challenge. And at the heart of all this turmoil and all this angst is your resume, a simple Word / electronic document. And we seem to think the general view that I can see on the internet at the moment and in a lot of the advice that job hunters are getting, we seem to believe that the same document that used to work in this market can be expected to work in the new market. And I've got some unsurprising but really bad news for you. The answer's simple. It can't. And the real danger isn't just recognizing that it can't. The real danger is if you are in that community of people who have to say it isn't, because you have been sending out your resume as it used to be or very close to how it used to be, and you're failing. And the real challenge is you don't know if you failed to get an interview because your CV didn't portray you strongly enough as a candidate, or just that no one read your CV. And that is becoming more and more of a market trait of this 2020 market, is that CVs just aren't getting opened. They aren't getting read. The closing dates on jobs are being brought forward without warning because employers think they've got enough candidates now. So you're losing out on opportunities even while you are preparing to apply for them. So it's very, very difficult. We need to create something new, and that is what this masterclass is all about. Let's create something new together that you can actually do before you go to bed, and it's there for you in the morning so you can start something new. So what are we going to actually do about it today? We're going to do two things today. We're going to start off by addressing 3 completely false myths that have been designed specifically and deliberately to make the job of writing a CV so much harder for you. We'll go through those 3 and I'll show you why they make no sense. And you probably have heard all 3 of them within the last few days. Once we've cleared the decks and we're in a position where we can ignore those myths and we can begin to develop our CV, transform our CV, we're going to go through these 7 simple steps to re-engineer your resume specifically for today's 2020 market. Mythbuster number 1 is the 6 or 8 second myth around how long a recruiter, a hiring manager spends before they reject your CV. It just makes no sense. It is not true. I have worked with large teams of both external recruiters in agencies. I've run those teams. I've also worked and developed and built numerous teams in employers. Now, 6 seconds is this long. There it goes. It's counting down now. And we're saying that in that time, that's it. They've made a decision on your CV. It isn't true. I mean, the industry knows it's not true. They can't even agree whether it's 6 seconds or 8 seconds. All they know is that if they give you a really scary number, you're going to think, oh my God, I've only got 6 or 8 seconds. I better get some advice to help. And it's a great way to promote the services of CV writers. The fact of the matter is that a hiring manager, a recruiter, an internal HR person will peruse your CV. And they will scan it, first of all. Yes, absolutely they will. And it may be for 6 or 8 seconds. But at the end of that 6 or 8 seconds, they don't make a decision of reject or accept. They make a decision as to whether they're going to spend the next 6 or 8 seconds of their life looking more closely at your CV. And then they make another decision 6 or 8 seconds later, and before they know it, they're at the bottom of the second page or the third page, and they're coming to an informed decision about your ability and your appropriateness as a candidate. So don't worry about the 6 or 8 second rule. What we have to do is to create our CV in such a way that whichever way they choose to scan our CV, that 6 or 8 seconds is a tease to lead them to the next 6 or 8 seconds, which is another tease to lead them to another 6 or 8 seconds. We'll look at that in a bit more detail as we go on. The second one is this 1 or 2 page myth. Again, the market struggles to agree the length of an appropriate CV, but they really like giving you this cast iron. It has to be 1 page long. It can't be more than 2 pages long. I run these teams. I've had a lot of people working for me, and I have never, ever heard a hiring manager, a recruiter, a headhunter, an HR person go, can I have to reject that candidate? The CV's 2.5 pages long. It's a nonsense. What actually matters is how good is your CV. And if you apply the right rules to your CV, it will be the right length. It is as simple as that. I have seen so many CVs that have been ruined in a desperate attempt to cram everything into 2 pages. We don't want to get into the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pages, although there are a couple of markets, the scientific markets, where maybe a lengthier CV is relevant. I'm not saying CVs can be of any length. What I am saying is if you apply the rules that you can learn with I Got Hired and the Job Search Accelerator, etc., you will have a CV that de facto is the right length. So don't get yourself tied up with the 1-2 page rule. And then finally, there's this thing that's just hit the market recently, which is the ATS Resume. Now, I didn't get it. I think people are saying it because levels of application has gone up, so we'll start hanging on the ATS Resume. But fundamentally, I've been working in companies, and I have worked with companies and supplied to companies for the best part of 20 years who have an applicant tracking system. So it's the HR system through which you submit your CV. And some of them have artificial intelligence. There is no doubt about that. And some don't. Some of them are just process management tools. But what we are doing in the market at the moment is we're terrifying everyone into believing that over 90% of employers screen CVs using an ATS that has artificial intelligence. Well, that is just a nonsense. And one of the most simple reasons we know it's a nonsense is that 93%, I think, in the UK, and I think it's even greater than that in the US, of employers employ less than 50 people. Now, those organisations don't have an artificially intelligent ATS. They're not going to evaluate every CV against a branching question or a predefined red line criteria buster or whatever they want to call it. So yes, there are ATSs out there. Yes, we have to be minded to make sure that our CV is appropriate for an ATS, an applicant tracking system, to read it. But let's not get scared by ATSs and suddenly begin to believe that everything that we do is being evaluated by a piece of computer software, because it's not. And if you've got 2 minutes, I'd highly recommend you read a piece of research by a lady called Becky Weber, who you can find on LinkedIn. I think she's the ops director of a recruitment company, but she did a fantastic piece of work called On a Mission to Unravel Facts Around Applicant Tracking Systems, the next edition. It's brilliant, and it'll put your mind at rest if you're scared of the dreaded ATS. The other thing that we hear a lot is that nearly 75% of resumes are rejected because they're not correctly formatted or keyword optimized. Now, I have spoken in the last week to 5 technical directors in applicant tracking system software companies. And I have asked them if their ATS has the ability to tell one of their clients, one of the owners of the applicant tracking system, whether they have rejected a CV because of formatting or keyword optimization. And I said, of course not. They're rejected because they don't hit the right number or the top third or 20% or 10% of CVs that carry the right criteria. So that, again, is just fundamentally false. And if we stop for a moment and wonder who benefits from the idea of making you scared that your CV is going to fail if it is not correctly formatted or you don't have keyword optimization, I'm suspecting it might be the guys who are trying to get your money to write a CV. So I do think there's a lot of stuff out there in the market that's being set up to scare you a bit. Yes, it is true that ATSs are designed to scan a resume for work experience, skills, education, and other relevant criteria, and then they evaluate it against those predefined criteria. Yes, that is true, and we can quite easily cope with that challenge. Equally, it does order and it can reject CVs against this criteria. But again, as long as we put the little bit of work in and we have a flexible tool that enables us to create a bespoke tailored CV quickly, we can create a CV that is going to satisfy both the applicant tracking system and then what we call, so you've got the ATS on one side, what we have is the AHB, the actual human being, on the other side, because both of these entities have some very similar things that they like. Both the human being and the applicant tracking system likes clean, clear formatting. They both like a simple and actually repetitive structure. We'll talk about the importance of consistent structuring later. They don't like bells and whistles. They don't like boxes. Most human beings don't like looking at something that looks like a chessboard and trying to work out where the data is. They like things to be logically organized. Both an ATS and a human being likes to know where they are going to find things about you, and they want the content to be relevant to their needs. That's simple. So as with those shared requirements, it is not difficult to come up with a compromise. So don't worry about the ATS CV. Don't spend money getting someone to create one for you. In the next half an hour, 40 minutes, you're going to learn how to do it anyway. And we're doing that for nothing. So there you go. So let's get into the nitty gritty and probably why you signed up for today's masterclass. These 7 simple steps that you can take right now, today, to create a CV that is going to be fit for 2020, is going to be effective and competitive, and is going to work for you. CVs only have one job to do. Their only job is to get you an interview, not to get you a job. So we create CVs to get you an interview. We'll touch on the job of the cover letter a little bit later as well, which is equally simplistic. So what we have at I Got Hired, we have developed what we call the I Control strategy. It is unique to I Got Hired. And as we began to develop it, we all thought we were really, really clever. And then we realized that actually it is so obvious and so simple. We're not that clever at all. We've just fallen onto something that is very, very obvious. And that the I Control strategy does 2 things. It looks to control where the reader's eye will go when a reader is looking at your CV. Now, that can be a human reader or it could be an applicant tracking system reader. And then we look to control what the reader's eye actually reads. So what is the content in those places where the reader's eye has gone? It's not rocket science. It's a bit of science. We use a lot of what we call evidential data. So we've done a lot of research, and the steps we're going to teach you now are not based on gut feel. They're not based on, oh, that sounds like a good idea. Nearly all of them come out of evidential data where we have looked into, either done research ourselves or we have found credible research done by other people. We're going to start with where the reader's eyes go. And a lot of people, when I first start talking about this in workshops or on different exhibition stands or whatever, question whether we can control a third party's eyes. And I guarantee you we absolutely can. So we're going to start with what we call resume real estate. Now, resume real estate is the concept that there are areas on your resume that have a greater value to you than other areas on your resume. And we call it resume real estate because it kind of aligns with house hunting. We all know towns and cities where property costs more, has a much higher value in some areas than it does in others. And if we had the choice of selling a property in one area or the other, we'd rather it was in that high value neighborhood than in the low value neighborhood. And that's exactly how your CV is. And there is science behind that. There's a reason that we talk about this. And so we look at I Got Hired for exclusive neighborhoods on CVs. Now, this strange red and yellow mess is using eye tracking software to see how the reader of this document looked at and captured the content of that email. And there are two really, really key elements to this. You can see in the top half of the email, if you just look at the red areas, there's kind of a capital E sitting there. And then as you move down, it's more vague, it's more broken, but there's another E kind of sitting in the bottom half. So that tells us two things. One, it shows us where the eye goes. And yeah, I absolutely accept to some extent the eye goes where the content is. That is kind of inevitable. But you can control where the eye goes, and we'll talk about that later. But the eye naturally will go, and there's loads and loads of examples of this. The eye will naturally go to the top left-hand corner, across, down, down, across. But also, it will study and hang around longer on that top half. So your CV is going to be evaluated more inevitably in that 6 or 8 seconds before they make a decision to go into your CV in more detail, the top half. So we need to construct a resume that will respond to that mentality of scanning. So we need to make sure that whether they just go left to right down, or they spend more time in the top half, our CVs have been written in such a way that the reader will get the primary information they need whilst they're carrying through that scan. The other thing that's worth noticing is the naked margin on the right-hand side. So don't put anything of any value on the right-hand side. I've seen CVs where skill sets are sitting over on the right-hand side, or a job title. They have the employer on the left and the job title on the right. That doesn't work. The eye doesn't get the way across very often. We're quite lazy on that. So we're looking at that left-hand side. But what I would say is there's a lot of stuff around this. This isn't something that we've made up. There's an awful lot of data on the internet about this. But in a way, it's not scientific because that data has been corrupted by people who have tried to make a point along the lines that we're making now, but have faked their data. So this is an example. For someone to have read this, they must have closed their eyes between the yellow and the red spots. It just makes no sense. And again, here, that doesn't work because the areas aren't connected. And again, here, that's just a mishmash. And I think that's trying to disprove that. But again, that doesn't look like a real piece of eye tracking technology to me. But there is enough on there on the internet, and there is enough scientific academic study on eye tracking to make this case for the capital E and the top heavy element of your CV. So we're going to talk around how we construct that as we go through the rest of this session. We have built a thing called the E3 model. And it's really simple. What we do is we look at a CV. This is the CV we're going to use all the way through this masterclass. It's a guy called Jack. He won't like me to give you his surname because when he came to I Got Hired, he had made 72 applications and hadn't secured a single interview. I mean, he was a statistical anomaly. If he tried, he couldn't have done that, I don't think. He's very bright. He'd got himself a master's degree from a top university in the UK. He's personable. He's smart. It just made no sense. So we worked with Jack, and this is kind of where we got to. We say we worked with him. Jack did all the really hard work. We just helped him and led him around a little bit and came up with some ideas and made him think about what he was doing. And this is the CV that he came up with. And it was hugely successful. He got an interview the first time he submitted this CV, and he now works for an elite sports club in the UK, and it is his dream job, and it was his 74th application. So 73 failures, 1 application with his CV, and he's into his perfect job. But if you look at it, he's followed a lot of the key rules. He's got a great strong opening sentence right at the beginning. Then the start of his second paragraph is strong with a little bit of emphasis around his academics, because that's what they were going to hire on. And he has highlighted some of his key transferable skills. But he's used bullet points. We'll get to bullet points later. So that's a good, strong CV. And in I Got Hired and the Job Search Accelerator program, we'll go into much more detail about why this CV is as strong as it is. But if we overlay the E of the E3, you'll see that he's actually obeyed that fundamental rule. Yes, the middle horizontal line could do have been a little bit lower. Maybe I should have remade the deck, but it's right. He has applied that rules to the CV, and more importantly, or as importantly, where the 3 would be, there are fundamental gaps. He hasn't bothered putting too much in there. So that resume real estate structure formatting is really, really important. Step 2 is the use of bold and bullet points. Again, looking at Jack's CV, it's obvious there are bullet points, and he's repeated them. We'll talk about this consistent structuring around important data, and he has been very sparing on his use of bold, other than the obvious places, the name of his university, the title of his degree, but this piece at the top, where he has led the reader in from the left-hand side across to a bolded, highlighted 4 words in the center of that main line is superb. It brought the reader's eye to the single most important thing that he wanted the reader to know early about him, and that was that he had studied the right academics at the right time. So the use of bold is important. It does attract the eye, but don't overuse it, because then it just loses its impact. There's some really fascinating academic study out there about the use of bullet points that suggests that the human brain is hardwired to look at bullet points. And you just do this with yourself. Get 2 or 3 bits of paper, have 2 with bullet points on, turn them face down, turn them over, and just let yourself look at the paper, and you'll suddenly find that you are looking where the bullet points are. So that is an incredibly powerful tool for us CV writers, because what we can do is we can take our primary messages, the most important messages that we want the reader to consume, and put them on bullets. And we do it in such a way that we don't use too many bullets, and our bullet points are short and to the point, so that when the reader has gone to the bullets, they are encouraged to read all of the bullets, rather than see one and it be 15 words and they run out of it and they don't read the other bullets. So don't overuse the bullets, and don't overuse the number of words that you attach to a bullet. But they are incredibly powerful, and please, please, please use them. You will be amazed the difference that makes on its own. We're also going to talk about white space. Now, this is one of my bugbears, and it's particularly my bugbear around the 2-page rule. I have seen so many CVs ruined because people are trying to remove the white space to make sure that their CV ends at the end of the second page. So this is the CV. We think it's a great CV, but take away the white space and have a look at it. Are you really going to battle your way through that? You talk to anyone in sales, advertising, marketing, they will talk about the power of white space around primary messages. Probably Apple are one of the really exceptional players of this. If you look at an Apple advert, so usually a very simple, succinct message surrounded by loads of white space. Your eyes got nowhere else to go. And as Jack began to develop his CV, he began to use that. Those are the things that he wanted the reader to focus on, those 6 bullet points in this case. Oh, sorry, there were 8. So he gave them space. He gave them space. There are 2 or 3 lines above, 2 or 3 lines below, and your eye is naturally drawn to that. So we can control where the reader's eye goes using resume real estate, using bullets, using white space, using bold. And then beyond that, into the slightly more advanced technique, we're going to help the eye go from one place to another. And we're going to do that by consistently structuring our CV. And that is quite an interesting approach. And what I'm going to show you now is a reasonably traditional structure for a CV. So you have your header, which would be your name and one contact method. So either an email or a mobile number, not both. You then have a title. Now this is where you may currently have the phrase personal statement or something like that. That has no value. That is an opportunity to put the job title you're applying for above what we call a solution statement. So we call it a solution statement because this is a statement that should be telling the reader how you can solve the problem that drove this piece of recruitment in the first place. Below that, you're going to have some bullet points about your key skills, and you're going to have some bullet points, maximum somewhere between 6 and 8 is what you're looking for, is how those skills have achieved things for your employer. So what have been your key accomplishments using the skills that you have? And then we get into your career history, and we're going to do that chronologically, most recent job first. You're going to have your education at the end, unless you are a graduate looking for your first job, in which case your education is of significant importance and it can come up after your solution statement. Then we have a footer, and that's where we put the other contact details. We number the pages of the CV. We make sure that in that footer there is both your contact, so your email and your phone number, just in case the CV is printed off and pages get separated. They should always make it really easy for someone to contact you. But we're going to take this approach to structuring your CV one step further, and we are going to use the method that we have to communicate skills and accomplishments in that piece just after solution statement in each of your job elements in your career history. So for each of your job elements, you're going to have a simple descriptor of the role, maybe a few words about the employer if it's not a sort of household name, and then you're going to have bullets about skills and accomplishments. The value of this is that you're using bullets, so you're going to attract the eye, but also you've trained the reader that the important information is in these bullets of skills and accomplishments. And then as they work through your CV in 6 or 8 second blocks, they're going to know where to go and look for your skills and accomplishments in each role. And you consistently do that right the way through your CV. You've trained the reader, then take advantage of it and put that skills and accomplishments information in the same place in every job throughout your career history. That is really, really important. Now we've got the eye going where we want it to go, to the bullets, to the accomplishments, to the skills. We've got good use of the header and the title. We've got a CV that is structured around that capital E, so that the 6 to 8 second scan moves to the next 6 and 8 and the next 6 and 8 seconds. We're now going to start thinking about what is our content strategy. What are we going to, and where are we going to put our content? And the first thing is about structural tailoring. I think probably most people on this masterclass have heard about the importance of tailoring and bespoking your CV for each role. But it can sound like quite a time-consuming, quite a daunting task when you've worked really hard on creating your CV, that then every time you've got to go back in and rewrite it. That's not the case if you get that core CV right. So we're going to go back through that consistent structure and see where you can tailor and how you're going to tailor your CV. Header, that's untailorable because it's your name and it's your contact details. Lots of white space, very clean, name-centered. And just quick touch on your campaign email. You have an email that is specific for your job hunt for 2 reasons. One, because you don't want to use that email that is bigboy@gmail.com. That's never attractive. And secondly, or big girl. And secondly, you are not going to want to have your job hunt emails mixing in with all those other emails, all the mailing lists you're on, everything else. You want a clean inbox that is containing the emails relevant and exclusively relevant to your job hunt. You can possibly put your LinkedIn URL up there if it is relevant to the trajectory and the state of your career. But then we start getting to tailor bit. As I said earlier, the title that sits above your solution statement reflects the role job title. So very early on, you're getting the job title that you've applied for into the eyes of the reader. And we'll talk about the importance of that a little later. You can also significantly tailor your solution statement. So when you write your solution statement, it'll be divided into two halves, and you'll highlight one half of it, which is the 50% that you can change, maybe the 2 sentences or the 2 full 3 phrases in your solution statement that you can change to make specific to a certain role. Then the other half is going to be that bedrock information about you as a person, about your aspirations, about your key deliverable skills that you're going to keep consistent on all of your job applications. But we're talking about bunging a couple of extra phrases, maybe 3, into your solution statement. Then obviously as you get into your skills and your accomplishments, you have the opportunity to not only tailor them, but tailor the order in which they are in. So many people will replace the 6th bullet point with the number 1 key message they want to get across when they're tailoring their bullets. And in fact, of course, they should put that at the start of their bullet points. So think about not just what your bullets contain, but the order in which they're in. You can partially tailor your career history. This is more about just polishing, because you don't want to mislead, you don't want to be dishonest, and to some extent your job history is what your job history is. But you can look to maybe play with the role descriptor, maybe reorder your key accomplishments or skills, and just consider the relevancy as well of that particular job to the job you're applying for, and make sure that it doesn't take up too much space if it is irrelevant. Education stays as it is, and please carefully and actively research as you get older. If you're old as me, you've got to take a breath and try to remember what qualifications you have. Make sure that they are accurate and make sure they're relevant. So let's not have the 50-yard breaststroke. It's of no importance, it's not educational. And then finally, the footer is, as we said before, probably a font 50 to 75% of the main font, and you can put your contact details in there. And again, we want to make sure that really important tailored information is formatted and positioned in such a way that you abide by the capital E rule. Step 6 is tailoring and keywords and phrases. And this is so important. Probably most of you on this masterclass has heard about keywords, but you have this challenge. You've got to serve 2 masters with a single document. You've got the ATS, we've talked about that. You've got the actual human being, we've talked about that. So although the numbers and percentages aren't right, yes, the ATS is going to evaluate your CV and potentially order it or possibly reject it against the number of times certain keywords appear within your CV. That's nice and relatively easy. You then have the actual human being. Now, they're famously inconsistent, they're prone to intellectual lapses, they may lead to a gut feel or an emotional decision. So you're in an area of challenge, but there is one fundamental advantage you have when you are considering what you're doing to your CV to make it attractive to the actual human being. Actual human beings have an ego, and that is an incredibly beneficial tool for you, but keywords don't cut it. So you have to start thinking about a way in which you can apply to that ego, yet at the same time make sure that your CV is aligned to the needs of an ATS. And it's a really simple way to do it. We touched on how the ATS and the actual human being like the same sort of things in CVs a little bit earlier, and you can respond to them in different ways. Yes, the ATS will look at keywords, but the human being will react both emotionally and intellectually to one of their phrases or a phrase that they are familiar with being played back to them, and that is really, really important. So that key phrase that is in the job description or is in the job advert or is on the company website 2, 3, 4 times you then embed that into your CV in the capital E key positions, and you play their own words back to them. Whether it's the hiring manager who wrote the job description or a recruiter who is working every day to find people who match that job description, those key phrases are essential. And there are ways we can do it. So in keyword selection, yes, most of those words will pop out at you out of a job description or job ad. So you can just do it by that. But if you look at the job descriptions, you will also see key phrases. And these are the phrases, if they are repeated through a job description, these are the phrases that you're going to plumb into your solution statement, into your skills and your accomplishments, so that they actually see that you are approaching their job description in the same way that they did. And it has a massive, I've seen hiring managers particularly react incredibly strongly when they just see their own words being played back to them. And usually they don't even realize that that's what they're seeing. It's just a kind of emotional and semi-intellectual response to seeing those key phrases. You can use word cloud software if you're not sure what the key words are. And when you do, you'll see that every so often a key phrase will come up as well, and you will use that key phrase as well. So that is absolutely key. And by the way, just this is a free bonus thrown into this resume masterclass. The same rule applied to your cover letter and your email. So here is the email that Jack used to submit his CV to his dream company, and you'll see here how he has used bold, he's used bullets, and he has played back in those 6-7 bullet points. He is playing back phrases from the job description to the hiring manager. He has pulled out the 7 most repeated requirements of the role. He has found how he can align his experience with them, and then he's used their own words played back to them to get that emotional, intellectual response. And it worked very, very well, and he's a very happy guy at the moment. Finally, we're going to get into step 7, which is colouring by numbers. Now, you've been listening to me for about an hour or so, and that's probably more than enough for anybody. So what I've done is I thought it would be a nice change for you to hear another voice, and this is Susie. Susie is one of our I Got Hired coaching trainers in the United States, and she has recently recorded this video about how you can use numbers in your CV. So I thought this might be a nice change of voice for you to listen to Susie. So I'll just get Susie off going, and here's about 2 or 3 minutes from Susie.
Do not use 100 words or 10 numbers will do. We've probably all heard the phrase, lies, damn lies, and statistics. Well, hopefully we are all in agreement that you never, ever lie on your resume, period. However, numbers, and especially the right numbers, have an incredibly important role to play in getting key messages across on your resume and getting them across in a way that really catches the eye of the hiring manager. Using numbers to quantify your achievements, your skills, your attendance record, or your personal development can have incredible impact. And after all, impact is what you're aiming for, isn't it? Look at it this way. Numbers are just another language. It's not rocket science. All we're doing is using the same language to describe our achievements that employers use to evaluate staff performance. Just about every single one of us has our performance at work assessed using statistics, or key performance indicators as they are known in the workplace. You know the kind of thing I'm talking about. How many deliveries a day did you make? What was your sales revenue? How many calls did you or your team make in a week? What was the percentage of positive responses to a customer service campaign? The list goes on and on. So, using the right numbers in your resume can be very, very powerful indeed. Just take these 2 statements from a retail job application and make up your own mind. The shop was very busy, and I served customers nonstop all day. Our store got less customer complaints than any other. Or, I served an average of 105 customers every day. Our store was consistently first in the customer satisfaction survey, averaging just 6.3 complaints each month against a company average of 11.9. Now, put yourself in the position of the hiring manager. Which of these two sentences provides the best evidence to help you make an informed decision about the candidate's capability? It's the second one by miles, right? Using statistics in your resume shows an employer that you are not only the kind of worker who understands the importance of being measured, but you actually relish it. And employers just love that kind of attitude. Here are 4 more quick examples of just how you can use numbers to illustrate your value. To show the extent of your responsibilities, the warehouse was 160,000 square feet. My team managed 210 deliveries a day and handled 1.2 million products at any one time. To show the positive impact of your management style, during my time in the role, our team's performance improved from 6.3 errors per 1,000 transactions to 2.6, making us the fastest improving team in the business. To show the value of your innovative thinking, the new stationary ordering process that I designed saved over 120 hours work per month and saved the company $73,500. To show your commitment to your employer, over the past 3.5 years of working at XYZ Incorporated, I've only taken 2.5 days off work due to sickness. All of these statements have real impact, are really memorable, and will set you apart from your competition. And they may just be the difference between you being invited to that all-important interview or just being another run-of-the-mill candidate. What's not to like?
So that was great, Susie. Thank you very much. I can't emphasize how important numbers are, and I think Susie gives you some really good examples of how you can use numbers to really turbocharge that information. And the really important thing is that you are proving or showing to a hiring manager that you not only recognize the importance of being evaluated on performance, but you actually relish it, because that's how they're going to evaluate you going forward. So that's important. So these 7 steps, if we just recap them now, we have gone through the concept of resume real estate and the importance of the capital E, and also the importance of that naked margin on the right hand side, and the number 3. We talked about the importance of conservative and intelligent use of bold and bullets. One thing I was just going to add here is bold is obviously an emphasis tactic. You can also use underline, you could use a bigger font, you could use italics. A golden rule is never use a combination of more than 2. Whether you use bold and underline or a bigger font and italics, they kind of work. I'm not a big fan of italics myself, but they kind of work. But the most important thing is don't use more than 2 at a time on the same text. White space, not white noise. So lots of white space. Don't just fill clutter. Don't clutter. That's not great. Structural consistency. So the eye knows where it's going to go to find the data it wants. Structural tailoring, so that we consistently put our bespoke, our important phrases in the same place. Using keywords and phrases so that we can apply both to the ATS and the actual human being. And then finally, colouring by numbers. Get those numbers in, take the words out, use the numbers, make sure they're accurate, make sure they're applicable, and that will be a really, really strong CV that you will have, and it will work in today's market. You will see a fundamental change in the effectiveness of the CV if you follow those 7 simple steps. And do them tonight. None of them are going to take you more than 5-10 minutes. Do them tonight. Have a better CV tomorrow. So I hope you found the last hour or so to be useful and practical. I believe we've delivered on our promise to give you 7 simple, actionable tasks that will fundamentally restructure and transform your CV to make it effective in today's market. And I think that if you have found this last hour beneficial, you're going to like a program that we're just about to bring to the market. You've signed up for this webinar, you turned up, you stayed right to this point, of which I'm very, very grateful. So there's a clear interest that you have in doing more with your job hunt. And I think that the Job Search Accelerator program that we are currently launching with a 99% discount price tag might just be exactly what you're looking for. The Job Search Accelerator program is right for you if you want to run a job hunt from start to finish, from the very first day to 100 days into your new job with the same level of innovation and detail that we have shown in building your CV today. The Job Search Accelerator program, we believe, is the most comprehensive program available today. We've been doing our research. We do it every week. It's called horizon scanning among our marketing people. We are looking to find things that are comparable. And to be honest, we're looking to find things that are better than ours, so that points us in the direction of how to improve our program. However, we haven't found anything yet that we think is comparable, never mind better. But before I tell you about why I think the Job Search Accelerator program is right for you and how you'll be able to use it to revolutionize your job hunt, I'd just like to take a couple of minutes to listen to Nick, who's one of the early adopters of the Job Search Accelerator program, and let him tell you how he found the Job Search Accelerator program helped his job hunt.
Hey Simon, Nick here. I just wanted to say thank you, mate. You know how desperate I was when we first spoke, and how little I knew about, well, just about anything when it comes to looking for a job. I hadn't written a CV for over 8 years or been to an interview. Your system, if that's what you call it, works. It's as simple as that. And it has got my life back in order. The Job Search Accelerator program has just been brilliant for me. I never felt out of my depth. The weekly calls kept me on track, and it was all so simple to follow. And it all made sense, even the more advanced techniques, as you call them. The solution method was just a game changer for me. You should patent it. Anyway, that's enough from me, but seriously, thank you so much, and make sure that you pass on my thanks to Chris, to Rachel, and the rest of the team. All right? So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks, Nick. Nick had all sorts of challenges when he started the program, and I'm now absolutely delighted to be able to say that he has found a role that he is very, very happy in, and is actually going to be a springboard for the rest of his career. And it was a pleasure, absolute pleasure, dealing with Nick, as I think you'd imagine from his video. The important part, the most important part of the Job Search Accelerator program is the foundation, and that is the thing that we call IGH Octagon, and that is an 18-step process that walks you through your job hunt. So we start at this piece, which is the setup, definition and planning. It's where you define the role that you are looking for. It's where you set your campaign plan. This is all about plan, process and preparation. You set targets, which is incredibly important. We help you set relevant, what we call smart targets, that you then use to motivate yourself through your job hunt. We'll then move on to the area, in fact, that we've been looking at really today, which is resumes, collateral and social media. We call it building your sales toolkit. And we've probably scratched the surface on that top lozenge there, writing perfect resumes, CVs and cover letters. In today's masterclass, but there is so much more we can do with you to increase the effectiveness of your cover letters and the other documents that you're going to use. And we focus very heavily on your social media brand, your personal brand, and how we can create a real platform for you to run your job hunt. And you'll hear me say this an awful lot of time, with purpose, at pace, but with real precision. That is the way that a job hunt works. You have purpose, so everything you do is important, and you know why you're doing it, and you can do it quickly, but you can do it accurately. We'll then move into the job market itself, which is, we call it the jobs jungle, because it really is. We're looking at defining your routes, identifying how you are going to find and where you're going to find the roles that you're looking for. We're going to map that jobs market. So you have a personal map of the job market that is going to lead you to the requirements that are going to be most interesting to you. You're going to identify your perfect organization. 85% of people who resign from roles resign because of the organization, not because of the role. So we have to look to align you with your organization rather than just a job description. And then we start doing the real nitty gritty, the outward bound stuff. We're going to contact our network, both our social media networks, but also our real world networks. And we're going to start targeting employers and contacting and approaching employers. We're going to become our own headhunter, our very own recruitment consultant. And we're going to be really effective at doing that. And you are going to unearth opportunities that lie in what we call the secret jobs jungle that other people don't even know exist. And that's where those golden nuggets can be. And then we're going to help you make the perfect job application, whatever the circumstances, online, hard copy, through an ATS, whatever it is, we will help you build that. And then we get into the interview piece. The interview piece is really simple. It's preparation and it's performance. And in the preparation, we help you prepare in two ways. We help you to prepare to arrive at your interview. So as you walk through that door, you're there out on time, in the right clothes, with the right preparation. And then we also work with you to prepare to perform correctly. So that's around research, creating specific questions, taking your right interview toolkit with you, making sure that you have embedded an answering methodology. So whether you're using AIDA or whatever, you are going to use a question answering method. So your answers are structured and concise. And then once you get to the offer, which you will with I Got Hired and the Job Search Accelerator, we then help you, first of all, understand whether you should accept the offer, whether you should negotiate that offer or not. We make sure that your negotiation is as professional as it possibly could be and that you land the best possible deal that all your previous work deserves. We'll look at you through the what's called the PES stage, the pre-employment screening stage. Make sure that your references are prepared and and are tailored to the requirements that you need. And we just help you close that deal. If you're in employment and moving to a new role, we'll help you manage your exit to make that a positive experience and build on your platform for the future. And then we will prepare you to start your new job. And that is so important. Other than that, then the next step is in many ways the most important one. It's making sure you are effective in that new role. So we will work with you to create a 100-day plan that will build your employee brand, make you be perceived as an effective and appropriate hire for the organization, and build your career from that very first day onwards. So that is what the Job Search Accelerator program will walk you through. Let's talk about how we do it. I suppose the core of the program is on-demand video training, and that's a lot of me. I'm afraid you get to hear this voice a lot. Very, very detailed, supported by a huge amount of collateral as well. But that on-demand video means that you can work your way through this course at your pace. And that could be very quickly working through, there's about 25 hours of video training broken down into the 5 major modules that we saw in that process, and then loads and loads of sub-modules and then lessons and sessions. But I support that with live coaching, and I think this is so important. So 5 days a week, I am running live coaching sessions that you can join, you can ask questions. We'll always try to get back to you as much as we can. And that is one of the key differentiators between this program and other hosted internet-based programs, the live coaching. Also have my video vault. This is my own private video vault, and in here I just put every video I ever record. If I see something on the internet that I think you should know about, if a member asks me a question that I need to answer, all my daily coaching courses, they're all stored in this video vault. So you are kept right up to date. If there's a new piece of technology, there'll be a video in there about it. If there's a new concept or a new strategy that the market is driving, you will know about it because it will be put in the video vault, and you receive notifications telling you that these videos have gone into the video vault and this is fundamentally what they're covering. So you're always kept right up to date. we have a critical path. Now, this is unique in this kind of coaching course, but we recognize, particularly when you have been made redundant, the natural sort of gut feel response is, I have to do something. I have to write my CV. I have to get applications out. Now, however much we coach that you need to do your prep first, you need to work through the stages of the accelerator program. You're going to want to do stuff quick. So the critical path enables you to respond to that, do things quickly, but do them well. And then once you move past that part of your grief cycle, of this desperate need to do something quickly, you can then get back into the program and get into the detail and enhance and improve what you've already done. There are guides, templates, and checklists for every task. All the way through the program, we keep you fully resourced with these proven guides and templates and checklists. We have a number of boot camps. So these are boot camps that focus on some of the major tasks within the program, what we would call point solutions, I guess. So this one, the illustrated one, is about the resume toolkit. We also have one for interviewing and LinkedIn, etc. So there are a number of boot camps. There are playbooks, again, for every key task. So the playbook will talk you through in detail how to complete a task that the program is asking you to complete. And then there are also what we call guru guides, which are more conceptual. They're looking at ethereal approaches, those overall conceptual approaches of how you do things. This example is the 10 Golden Do Nots of Resume Writing, which has been one of our most successful ebooks. And then finally, there are the 5 workbooks, my 5 books that have been published and updated on Amazon for the last 5 or 6 years, but we'll talk about those in a moment. We are launching this, and I mentioned this earlier, with a 99% price discount. So we are bringing this to market at just 1% of its retail value. And there's a reason for that. That is that at this moment in time, with the ravaged market we're working at, we want to level the playing field for job hunters. We want to get every job hunter as good at advice as we possibly can. And to do that, we have brought the price down literally by 99% for this promotion through today's webinar. When we try to work out how much we should charge for it, and pricing is a very difficult thing when you're a coach. When you're trying to work out, we got an independent assessor to come in and try to evaluate the coaching program. And this is where they landed. Each module is worth, they believe, around £450, £500. If it was a standalone product, fully priced. Live coaching with me is valued at £1,300. I might be slightly disappointed, to be honest. Slightly disappointed at £1,300 because I'm doing this 5 days a week, and a job hunter is probably likely to be taking that coaching over maybe 3 months with us. But we can't argue. If you go and get a specialist, you have to listen to what they say. So it's £1,300. The supporting document library, which is 200-300 documents, checklists, etc., around about the £400 mark, and then my secret video vault about £700. And that is because it is intellectual property, and it is because it is never ending. It is the growth, it is the update, it's keeping everything right bang up to date for you, to make sure you haven't just bought a course that you could be looking at when you next look for a job in 2 or 3 years' time and it's unchanged. There's a lot of that stuff out there at the moment. You're being directed to YouTube videos that have had 5 million hits but have been live on YouTube for 7 years. The content cannot be relevant. So we keep everything really up to date, and there is actually a mechanism within the program for you to ask for additional material or updated material if there are things that you think are missing or could be improved. That's really, really important. We were told the whole value was somewhere in the region of £4,700, so I guess $5,000, $5,500, something like that. So we knocked 99% off that, and we've ended up at today's price of £47, a single payment, £47. That's actually $57 in the States. It kind of hits us that's sort of a no-brainer when you look at the depth and breadth of the learning experience that you will get through the Job Search Accelerator program. But just in case you're not certain, you're worried about that £47 payment, and money at the moment, we absolutely understand is tight, and that's why we've driven the price down by 99%, and we're being really straight about it. It's just, we're just telling you the price. I'm not going to go through this shenanigans you get on the internet of, oh, it's £4,761, but today it's 2,000, and then, oh no, it's not, it's 1,000. Oh no, it's not, it's 5. Oh no, we've got to 40. It's just £47. It's as simple as that, and we will give you your money back. If you are not satisfied, if you follow the program and after 90 days you don't think you have got value for money out of the program, we're just going to give you your money back. And at £47, it's easy for us to do that. If it was £4,700, it would be a very painful thing to do. But if you think about it, at £47, we're able to give you your money back without a moment's hesitation. But if you purchase the Job Search Accelerator program directly from the webinar today, I'm also going to add to the program the complete I Got Hired box set of workbooks. These have been published on Amazon for the last 5 years. We've just, I think, or maybe next week, just about to publish the 2020 editions of the books, and the box set will retail at £57, and we will just give that to you absolutely free. But that is if you order today from this webinar. If you don't, and it's a later date, you go to the Job Search Accelerator page and you look to buy the program, you will see that the box set is actually an upgrade at a particular cost. But today we'll just give it to you. We want you to have as much detail and as many different learning experiences as is possible when you go through the Job Search Accelerator program. So just to quickly recap, it is quite simply, the Job Search Accelerator program is quite simply the single most comprehensive, most detailed, most innovative, most thought out job searching program on the internet, in the world today, on this planet. Sounds like a massively hyperbole type comment, but we can't find anything that competes with it. If you find something, tell us and we'll just improve ours. It's as simple as that, but we really believe it. So this combination of live coaching, on-demand video trading, guides, templates, checklists, the critical path to accelerate when you feel you have to do something quick. The video vault that keeps everything absolutely up to date, and you'll see videos being posted into the video vault day by day by day. And there are just basically tools and tools and tools that make sure your learning experience is as innovative, but as simple, as deep and as broad as is available anywhere in the world today. So today for £47 or $57, not only do we give you full membership, but we give it for you for life and for your whole family. So if you need more logins, you just ask us and we will give you more logins so that your partner, your wife, your husband, your children, your parents, whoever can have independent access to the program as well. We are really, really driven to make sure that this program does as much good as it can in this horrible market that we're in today. So we're more than happy for your family and friends to use it as well. And then of course you get the box set worth £57. So it's actually worth, the box set alone is worth £10 more than today's asking price. So just to ram that down your throats, because my marketing people tell me I have to, £47, single payment, $57. If you purchase it today, you'll also get the £57 box set of workbooks, which I'm really proud of. I don't know, it's about 200,000 words, 1,100 bespoke illustrations. They're very serious job hunting tools. So that's kind of it. Thank you for listening. You've been with me for now about an hour and 20 minutes, which I know is a long amount of time, but I think you'll find that if you apply those 3 broken myths and then the 7 steps to your resume, you will have a fundamentally different resume. But the final message I would like to leave with you is take action. Take it now. Even if you never hear my voice again, you don't get involved with anything that I Got Hired Coaching is doing, you decide not to purchase the Accelerator program, if the other webinars and the other free coaching that we have out just doesn't float your boat, take action. That is the single most important message that should come out of today's masterclass. Complete the 7 steps, or at least whichever steps you want to complete. Re-engineer your CV today so any applications that you're making tomorrow are more effective than any applications you made yesterday. Thank you very much for listening. I've really enjoyed it, and I really hope I get to talk to you again inside the Accelerator program. Cheers.